What if the secret you've guarded for years suddenly becomes the talk of the entire campus? How would you feel if the young people you mentor every day turned your greatest vulnerability into their loudest show of support? Can one honest moment transform years of fear into a bond stronger than any prejudice? Finn Hargrove stood at the front of the lecture hall in the English department building at Pacific Crest University, just outside Seattle, adjusting the collar of his blue button-down shirt. The late afternoon sun poured through the tall windows, casting golden light across the rows of desks where 32 college juniors sat scribbling notes. At 35, Finn still looked like the kind of professor students trusted instantly, tall, lean, with short brown hair that never quite stayed in place and eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He had built his career on quiet passion for literature, guiding discussions on identity and belonging in novels by Baldwin and Morrison. No one guessed the irony. For 7 years, he had kept his personal life locked away. Back home in rural Montana, his father still referred to the gay agenda at Thanksgiving, and his mother sent articles about traditional values. Finn had learned early that silence was safer than truth. Even here in progressive Washington, the rumors had started quietly last semester. Someone claimed they saw him holding hands with a man at a downtown cafe. Whispers followed him into the faculty lounge, but he smiled through them, pretending not to notice. Until today, a student in the third row raised her hand. Maya, a sharp literature major with purple-streaked hair, looked nervous but determined. "Professor Hargrove, there's been talk. People are saying you're gay. Is that true?" The room went still. Finn stopped moving. Finn felt his heart slam against his ribs like it wanted to escape. He had rehearsed this moment in the shower, in the car, in the dark at 3 a.m. when sleep refused to come. Now the words were here. He set his notes down slowly. "Yes, Maya. I am gay." For 2 full seconds nothing happened. Then the room erupted, not in gasps or awkward laughter, but in applause. Real applause. Students stood up, some cheering, others clapping so hard their hands must have stung. Maya rushed forward first, throwing her arms around him in a fierce hug. "Thank you for trusting us," she whispered. Within seconds, the entire class surrounded him. Arms wrapped around his shoulders, his back, even his waist. A tall basketball player named Jamal patted his back with surprising gentleness. "You're still the best professor I've ever had, man. Nothing changes that." Finn's eyes burned. He hadn't cried in public since he was 12. Now tears slipped free while 20-year-olds he barely knew outside of class held him like family. In that bright classroom filled with the scent of coffee and old books, something inside him cracked open. But the story didn't begin in that lecture hall. It started 2 years earlier on a rainy October evening when Finn first met Elias. Elias Rivera worked as a freelance graphic designer in a converted warehouse studio downtown. 28, with dark wavy hair that fell into his eyes and a quiet laugh that made strangers feel instantly at ease, he had moved to Seattle from Chicago to escape his own family's expectations. His parents still sent birthday cards signed "Love, Mom and Dad," while carefully avoiding any mention of the boyfriend they had met once and never invited back. Finn had wandered into the studio for a faculty event flyer redesign. He expected a quick meeting. Instead, he found Elias sketching at a long wooden table, sleeves rolled up, coffee mug balanced on a stack of paper. Their conversation drifted from fonts to favorite novels, then to the way Seattle's rain made everything feel like a film noir. By the time Finn left, he had Elias's number and a strange fluttering in his chest he hadn't felt since college. Their first real date happened at a small Italian place near the waterfront. Elias ordered pasta and told stories about designing album covers for indie bands. Finn talked about teaching The Color Purple to students who had never read it before. When Elias reached across the table and brushed his thumb over Finn's knuckles, neither pulled away. That simple touch felt like permission Finn had waited his whole life to receive. They kept things quiet at first. Elias understood. He had watched friends lose jobs or family over less. They met at Finn's apartment on the north side, cooked late-night dinners, watched old movies, and talked until the sky turned pink. Elias never pushed. He simply existed beside Finn, steady, warm, funny in the way that made hard days bearable. But secrets have weight. 6 months in, Finn's older brother called from Montana. "Dad heard something. Said you were seen with a guy. You gonna explain?" Finn lied. Said it was a colleague. The lie sat in his stomach for weeks. Elias noticed the distance, but only asked once, "You okay?" Finn nodded, then changed the subject. The rumors on campus began innocently enough. A student posted a blurry photo from a pride parade, someone who looked like Finn marching beside a man with dark hair. Comments exploded. "Is that Professor Hargrove? No way, he's so straight-passing." Finn deleted the app from his phone and kept teaching. Then came the faculty meeting where the department chair, Dr. Lydia Voss, pulled him aside. "Finn, people are talking. If there's any truth to it, you might want to be careful. Parents still call." Her words were polite, but the warning was clear. Finn went home that night and found Elias waiting with takeout and a new playlist. They ate in silence until Elias finally said, "You're allowed to be scared, but you're also allowed to be free." Finn didn't answer. Instead, he pulled Elias close and held on like the world might disappear if he let go. The betrayal arrived on a Tuesday morning in the form of an email from an anonymous account. "Thought the department should know the truth about Professor Hargrove." Attached was a screenshot of Finn and Elias kissing outside the studio months earlier. The photo had been taken from across the street, clear enough that no one could deny it. By noon, the entire English department had seen it. Dr. Voss called Finn into her office. "I'm not firing you," she said, "but the board is nervous. We've had 3 parent complaints already." Finn sat there feeling the floor tilt. He had built his entire professional identity on being the safe, reliable professor. Now that identity lay in pieces. That evening, Elias found him on the couch, staring at nothing. "They know," Finn whispered. Elias sat beside him, took his hand, and didn't offer empty comfort. Instead, he said, "Then let's stop hiding. You deserve to walk into that classroom as yourself." Finn wanted to believe him, but fear is a stubborn thing. He spent the next week avoiding eye contact in the hallways, eating lunch alone in his car. Students still smiled, but he wondered what they whispered when he turned away. Elias tried to distract him with weekend hikes in the Cascades, where the pine air felt clean and judgment felt far away. On one trail overlooking a glacier-fed lake, Elias stopped and turned to him. "I love you, Finn. Not the version you show the world, the real one. When you're ready to show him to everyone else, I'll be right beside you." Finn kissed him then, slow and grateful, but the knot in his chest remained. The breaking point came during midterms. A conservative student group circulated a petition demanding moral accountability in the classroom. Finn's name was at the top. He read the comments late one night while Elias slept beside him. Words like agenda, indoctrination, and disgusting stared back. He closed the laptop and stepped onto the balcony, rain soaking his shirt. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine what life would look like if he simply quit and moved somewhere no one knew him. Elias found him there, wrapped a blanket around his shoulders, and said nothing for a long time. Then, quietly, "Running won't make the fear smaller. Only facing it does." Finn cried that night for the boy he had been in Montana, the man he had become in Seattle, and the future he was terrified to claim. The morning of the lecture that changed everything, Finn woke to sunlight and Elias making coffee in the kitchen. They didn't speak much. Elias simply handed him a travel mug and kissed his forehead. "You've got this." In the lecture hall, Finn stood before his students, feeling every heartbeat. When Maya asked the question, the words left his mouth before he could stop them. "Yes, I am gay." The applause started small and grew until it filled the room like thunder. Hugs came next, real, unashamed hugs from students who had spent the semester analyzing love and identity in fiction and now witnessed it in real life. Jamal, the basketball player, lifted Finn off the ground for a second. "Proud of you, Professor." A quiet girl named Priya pressed a handwritten note into his palm. "Thank you for teaching us it's okay to be who we are." Finn laughed through tears. He looked toward the back door where Elias had slipped in unnoticed, leaning against the wall with the softest smile Finn had ever seen. Their eyes met across the cheering students, and in that moment Finn understood something profound. Love wasn't just the private nights and stolen kisses. Love was this, standing in the light and letting the world see. After class, the students lingered. They asked questions, not invasive ones, but genuine. "How long have you known? Was it hard?" Finn answered honestly for the first time in his career. When the last student left, Elias walked up the aisle, and pulled him into a quiet embrace. "You did it," he whispered. "You were brave for yourself." Outside the building, campus life continued as usual, students rushing to the next class, bikes whizzing past. But inside Finn, everything had shifted. The weight he had carried for decades felt lighter, as if the hugs had physically lifted it away. The backlash arrived faster than the celebration. His father called that same evening. "Son, what the hell is going on up there? People are sending me links." Finn's mother cried in the background. "We raised you better." The conversation ended with his father hanging up mid-sentence. Finn sat on the couch staring at the phone until Elias gently took it and set it aside. At the university, 2 parents withdrew their children from his classes. Dr. Voss received more emails. Finn's colleagues split. Some offered quiet support. Others suddenly found reasons to avoid the lounge. The conservative student group held a small protest outside the English building with signs that made Finn's stomach turn. He walked past them with his head high, Elias waiting at the end of the sidewalk. But the hardest moment came during winter break. Finn flew home to Montana alone. Elias had offered to come, but Finn needed to face this first. The family dinner was silent until his father slammed his fist on the table. "You're throwing your life away for a lifestyle." Finn stood up slowly. "This isn't a lifestyle, Dad. It's who I am. And I'm done apologizing for it." He left the house that night and drove to a motel on the edge of town. Elias called at midnight. "Come home," he said simply. "Seattle is home now." Finn booked the next flight back. When he walked through the apartment door at 2 a.m., Elias was waiting with open arms and no questions. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time Finn believed the future might actually be kind. Spring semester brought new light. The university quietly updated its diversity policies after the story spread through student media. Finn's class enrollment doubled, students from other departments signing up just to be in the professor who came out in lecture class. He taught with a new freedom, assigning essays on courage and authenticity that students poured their hearts into. Elias moved in officially. They painted the living room together, argued over which plants could survive their black thumbs, and planned a summer road trip up the coast. One evening on their balcony overlooking the city lights, Elias slipped a simple silver ring onto Finn's finger. "Not marriage yet," he said with a grin, "but a promise that I'm staying." Finn kissed him under the stars, the same stars that had once felt cold and distant. His parents didn't call again for months. Then one Saturday in June his mother left a voicemail. "We're trying, Finn. We don't understand, but we love you." It wasn't perfect. It might never be. But it was a beginning. On the last day of the semester, Finn stood in the same lecture hall watching his students pack up. Maya hugged him again. "You changed how I see the world, Professor." Jamal fist bumped him. "See you next year, Prof. Still the best." As the room emptied, Elias waited by the door holding 2 iced coffees. They walked out together into the warm afternoon, hands brushing but no longer hiding. Finn looked at the campus he had once feared and felt only gratitude. The rumors had tried to break him. Instead, they had set him free. In the end, Finn's story taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's walking forward anyway. The lesson is simple yet profound. Authenticity invites the right people closer and gently releases the wrong ones. If you're carrying a truth that feels too heavy, remember the classroom that chose celebration over condemnation. Take the step when your heart is ready. Surround yourself with those who see your light, and trust that the world, though imperfect, is slowly learning how to hug instead of hurt. You are not alone, and your story might just become someone else's turning point.